The room went silent the second Piper slid my prototype across the glossy conference table. "This is going to change everything," she announced, holding up the device I had machined in my garage. 50 people stared at the metal casing, the safety latch I had redesigned 12 times, the exact curve of the handle I had sketched at 3 in the morning. My parents sat in the front row, beaming. 2 uncles nodded approvingly. The angel investor, Carson Crane, leaned forward with interest. Piper clicked to the next slide, showing technical specs I had calculated myself. "I've been working on this for 8 months, she said smoothly. My stomach twisted. 8 months ago, I had shown her my first working model. She had called it brilliant. She had promised we would build it together. Now she stood under the spotlight, claiming sole credit. I opened my mouth to speak. "Marin," Piper cut me off sharply, turning to face me in front of everyone. "You wouldn't even know how to file a patent. You're too stupid to understand the business side." Laughter rippled through the room. Heat crawled up my neck. My father looked away. My mother's smile didn't falter. I reached for my phone with shaking hands and pressed record, setting it face down on the table. "If you're smart," Piper added brightly, turning back to the investor, "you'll just help with social media." Carson Crane nodded, already discussing next steps. Something inside me went perfectly, beautifully still. Piper lifted the prototype again, tilting it under the lights like she had invented fire. "The safety mechanism here," she pointed to my latch design, "took months of refinement." I wanted to scream that I had the CD files to prove those months were mine. She thanked our parents for their unwavering support, thanked Uncle Marco for his encouragement, thanked everyone except the person who had actually built the thing in her hands. The applause made my ears ring. I stood up slowly, my chair scraping against the floor. The room's attention shifted to me. Piper's smile tightened. "Don't be dramatic, Marin," she said, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "We're celebrating." I looked at my mother, hoping for something, anything. She touched my father's arm and whispered something I couldn't hear. My father shook his head slightly, a warning. I walked toward the exit, my footsteps echoing in the sudden quiet. "She's always been emotional," Piper said behind me, loud enough for everyone to hear. More laughter followed me into the hallway. I didn't run. I didn't cry. Not yet. "My name is Marin Dalton, I'm 32 years old, and I build things that solve small, stubborn problems. Today, my sister stole my idea in front of everyone who was supposed to protect me. If you're watching this video, please like, subscribe to the channel, and tell me in the comments where you're watching my revenge story from. I want to know how far it has traveled." 6 months earlier, everything had felt different. Piper and I sat at my kitchen table, surrounded by sketches and coffee cups. Morning light poured through the window, making everything feel possible. I had just quit my engineering job to focus on my invention full-time. She had recently lost her marketing position and needed a project. "This is incredible," Piper said, studying my drawings. The device was simple but effective, a tool for people with limited hand mobility to open jars safely. My grandmother had inspired it after her arthritis made cooking painful. I had spent 2 years perfecting the mechanism. "We should do this together," Piper continued, her eyes bright with excitement. "You handle the technical side, I'll handle business and investors." It made sense. I was good at building things but terrible at selling them. She was charming, confident, comfortable in rooms full of strangers. We shook hands over cold coffee, promising equal partnership. She hugged me tight. "We're going to change lives, little sister." I believed her completely. The kitchen glowed with possibility. Our father had always said Piper got the people skills, and I got the problem-solving brain. Together, we would be unstoppable. I gave her copies of everything, sketches, measurements, material lists. "Guard these with your life," I joked. She laughed and promised she would. The cracks started small. 3 weeks after our kitchen table promise, Piper scheduled a meeting with a potential manufacturer. "Just me," she said when I asked about the time. They preferred dealing with one point of contact. It stung, but I understood. I wasn't good at small talk or negotiations. She returned that evening excited about the conversation but vague about details. "They loved it," she assured me. "Don't worry about the boring business stuff. The next week, she posted photos of my prototype on her personal Instagram. The caption read, "Excited about my new project." Not our project. My project. No mention of my name. When I called her, she laughed it off. "Don't be so sensitive. Everyone knows we're working together." But they didn't, because she never said it. My father called me later that night. "Let Piper handle the public-facing work," he advised. "She's better with people. You focus on perfecting the product." I hung up feeling dismissed. Over the next month, meetings happened without me. Conference calls I wasn't invited to join. Email chains I wasn't copied on. When I asked questions, Piper said I was slowing things down with unnecessary details. "Trust me," she kept saying. I wanted to, desperately. She was my sister. But trust was becoming harder to hold. One evening, Piper came over with takeout and wine. We sat on my couch like old times, talking about childhood memories and laughing at inside jokes. The tension from the past weeks melted away. I felt guilty for doubting her. "You know what?" I said, feeling playful. "Maybe I should make you sign an NDA." I was joking, trying to lighten the mood. But Piper's face lit up. "Actually, that's not a bad idea. Very professional." She grabbed a napkin from the takeout bag. "Draft something right now." I pulled up a basic non-disclosure template on my phone and wrote out a simple version by hand. It stated that all designs, prototypes, and intellectual property belonged to me, Maren Dalton. Piper signed it with a flourish, grinning. "There. Now we're official business partners." I took a photo of the signed napkin, meaning to frame it as a funny memory. We laughed about how seriously we were taking ourselves. The moment felt light, almost silly. I had no idea that photo would later become my most important piece of evidence. We finished the wine, and Piper left around midnight, hugging me at the door. "I'm so glad we're doing this together," she said. I squeezed her back, believing everything was finally back on track. 2 weeks later, I sat alone in my garage workshop at 2 in the morning. Sleep wouldn't come. Something felt wrong, even though I couldn't name it. Piper had been distant again, responding to my texts with single-word answers. I opened my laptop and searched, "How to protect an invention." The results talked about patents, provisional applications, and intellectual property rights. My stomach churned. Was I being paranoid? Disloyal? She was my sister. We had promised to build this together. But her signature on that napkin flashed in my mind. The way she had posted photos without crediting me. The meetings I wasn't invited to attend. I filled out the provisional patent application online, my hands trembling. Name of inventor, Maren Dalton. I uploaded technical drawings, photographs, and detailed descriptions of how the device worked. The filing fee was $200 I could barely afford. At 3:15 in the morning, I pressed submit. The confirmation email arrived instantly. Patent application received. I stared at the screen, feeling both relieved and sick with guilt. Had I just betrayed my sister? Or protected myself from betrayal? I closed my laptop and sat in the dark, listening to the hum of my garage refrigerator. The device sat on my workbench, innocent and perfect. Whatever happened next, at least the government knew who had actually invented it. Sunday dinner at my parents' house felt like a trap. Piper arrived late, breezing in with expensive sunglasses and a new handbag. She kissed our mother's cheek and launched into a story about a potential investor she had impressed at a networking event. "He wants to see the prototype next month," she announced, helping herself to roast chicken. "This could be huge." Our father beamed. "That's my girl. Always thinking big." I pushed potatoes around my plate. "What about the patent application?" I asked quietly. "Shouldn't we file before showing it to more people?" Piper's fork paused halfway to her mouth. "Maren's been obsessing over legal stuff," she said, turning to our parents. "It's slowing everything down." My father frowned at me. "Your sister knows what she's doing. Stop micromanaging." My mother added gently, "You're being too sensitive, honey. Piper's just trying to help." I excused myself to the bathroom, my appetite gone. In the hallway, I heard Piper's voice through the wall. "She's going to ruin this if she keeps acting paranoid. She never trusts anyone." My Uncle Marco responded, "She'll calm down. She always does." I stood frozen, my reflection staring back at me from a family photo on the wall. In the picture, Piper and I were 10 and 8, arms around each other, smiling like we shared the same heart. I returned to my workshop on Monday morning and froze in the doorway. My workbench was wrong. Tools moved. Papers shuffled. And the prototype, the fully functional device I had spent 6 months perfecting, was gone. Panic flooded my chest. I tore through drawers and boxes, already knowing I wouldn't find it. My hands shook as I called Piper. "Where's my prototype?" I demanded when she answered. "Oh, that?" Her voice was casual, distracted. "I borrowed it to show someone." "Relax. You can't just take it without asking. Marin, it's our project. Stop being territorial." The word, "our," felt like a slap. "Bring it back today." "I can't. It's part of a presentation I'm putting together." "You'll get it back when I'm done." She hung up before I could respond. I sat on my garage floor, breathing hard. This wasn't borrowing. This was stealing. I called her again. No answer. I texted, "That prototype is mine. Return it immediately." 3 dots appeared, then disappeared. No response came. That evening, I filed a full utility patent application, converting my provisional one. It cost $1,200 I didn't have. I paid with a credit card I couldn't afford to max out. But I needed the protection. My sister had my only working prototype, and I was starting to realize she had never planned to give it back. 3 weeks later, Piper called me for the first time in days. Her voice was warm, friendly, like nothing had happened. "Hey, little sister. I'm organizing a family demo night at Dad's office. I want to show everyone what we've been building." My guard was up, but something in me still wanted to believe her. "Both of us presenting?" I asked carefully. "Of course. It's our project." That phrase again. Our project. I wanted it to be true so badly I ignored every warning sign. "When?" "Next Friday. 7 o'clock. Dress nice. I've invited some important people." My stomach twisted with hope and dread. Maybe I had been wrong. Maybe she really did want to share credit. Maybe the distance and secrecy had been my imagination. "I'll be there," I said. "Perfect. This is going to be amazing, Marin. I promise." After we hung up, I sat with my phone in my hand, trying to convince myself everything would be okay. I checked my patent application status online. Still pending, but filed. The date was recorded. Whatever happened on Friday, I had that protection. I spent the next week preparing notes, practicing what I would say about the technical design. I wanted to sound professional, confident. I wanted to make Piper proud. I wanted our parents to see that I contributed something valuable. I had no idea I was walking straight into an ambush. I drove home from the presentation in a fog. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles ached. The humiliation replayed in my mind, Piper's voice calling me stupid, the laughter from people I trusted, my parents' frozen smiles. I parked in my driveway and sat in darkness for 20 minutes before I could move. Inside my house, I collapsed on the kitchen floor and sobbed until my throat burned. My phone buzzed repeatedly. My mother, "Piper didn't mean it that way. She was just nervous." My father, "Don't make this bigger than it is. The investor is very interested." Uncle Marco, "Family works together. Don't ruin this for her." Not one person asked if I was okay. Not one person acknowledged what had actually happened. I dragged myself to my desk and opened my laptop. The recording from the presentation was clear, damning. Piper's voice claiming sole credit. Her insult. The investor's questions. I saved it to 3 different locations. Then I pulled out the folder I had started weeks ago. The provisional patent confirmation. The signed napkin. Photos of my sketches with timestamps. My lab notebook with dated entries. Email threads where I had sent Piper technical details. I organized everything chronologically, methodically. My tears dried. My hands stopped shaking. Revenge wasn't about screaming or confrontation. It was about documentation. About proof. About being smarter than the person who underestimated you. Over the next 2 days, I built a timeline. Every sketch I had drawn, dated, and photographed. Every prototype iteration, documented with timestamps. The signed napkin NDA, scanned in high resolution. Email receipts showing I had sent Piper the technical specifications first. My provisional patent filing from months ago. My full utility patent application from 3 weeks ago. I created a digital folder labeled Evidence and backed it up to 3 cloud services. I printed physical copies and stored them in a fireproof safe. I wasn't angry anymore. Anger was hot and reckless. What I felt now was cold and precise. I made a spreadsheet tracking every conversation, every meeting, every moment Piper had excluded me or claimed credit. I included witnesses when possible. I documented her social media posts that called it my project instead of our project. I downloaded every photo she had shared, every caption she had written. My phone rang. Piper. I let it go to voicemail. Hey, the investor wants to move forward. We need to finalize some paperwork. Call me back. I deleted the message without responding. My garage workshop became my war room. I pinned timeline documents to the wall. I cross-referenced dates. I looked for holes in my evidence and filled them. This wasn't about hurting my sister. It was about protecting what was mine. I found Grace Lyle through a recommendation on an inventors forum. Her law office was small but professional, tucked into a renovated house downtown. She specialized in intellectual property disputes. Tell me everything, Grace said, pouring coffee into 2 mugs. I talked for 90 minutes straight. She took notes, asked clarifying questions, and never once made me feel stupid or paranoid. When I finished, she sat back and read through my evidence folder. She studied the provisional patent filing. She examined the signed napkin. She reviewed the timeline spreadsheet. You're the inventor, Grace finally said, looking up with a slight smile. You own the rights. Completely. Relief hit me so hard I almost cried. What do I do? We send a cease and desist letter. We clarify ownership. We make sure any investor knows the truth. She pulled out fresh paper. But we don't send it yet. We wait until she's committed. Until she's signed agreements, made promises, built something on stolen ground. Why wait? Because right now, she can claim it was a misunderstanding. She can pivot and minimize damage. But if we wait until she's fully invested in the lie, the consequences are bigger. Grace leaned forward. Your sister made a mistake. Let's make sure she learns from it. I left her office with draft letters prepared but not yet sent. Legal ammunition, loaded and ready. All I had to do was wait for the right moment to fire. The family group chat exploded with excitement. Piper posted, official launch countdown. 3 months until we change the world. She included mock-ups of packaging with her name prominently displayed. My mother responded with heart emojis. My father wrote, so proud of you, sweetheart. Uncle Marco sent a champagne bottle gif. I typed one word, congratulations. Then I muted the chat. Piper screenshot my response and posted it to her Instagram story, captioning it, even my skeptical little sister is coming around. Family support means everything. I didn't respond. Silence was becoming my sharpest weapon. Friends texted asking if I was okay. I said I was busy with personal projects. I declined invitations to family dinners. I stopped answering my parents' calls. My mother left voicemails asking what was wrong. My father sent texts saying I was being immature. I replied with short, polite messages, just focused on work. Talk soon. Nothing hostile. Nothing that could be used against me. Meanwhile, I watched from a distance as Piper built her empire on stolen ground. She hired a graphic designer for branding. She created a website with her photo and story. She scheduled radio interviews. Every step took her deeper into the lie. Every brick she laid was on sand. Grace called me weekly with updates. She's applying for a trademark. That's good for us. Shows intent to commercialize under false pretenses. I took notes, staying calm. The anger had burned away completely. What remained was patience. My email dinged with a message from an unfamiliar address. The subject line read, technical question, jar opener design. I opened it cautiously. Ms. Dalton, my name is Carson Crane. I'm an investor reviewing a product pitch from Piper Dalton. Your email appeared in metadata on some technical diagrams. I have questions about the locking mechanism that only the original engineer could answer. Would you be available for a brief call? My heart hammered. This was Piper's investor, the one from the presentation. He had found my email somehow, probably embedded in a photo or document Piper had sent him. I forwarded the message to Grace before responding. She called immediately. "This is perfect," she said. "Answer his questions. Be helpful, professional. Don't mention the dispute yet. Just show him you're the technical expert." I replied to Carson, happy to help. "I'm available tomorrow afternoon." The call lasted 45 minutes. Carson asked detailed questions about torque calculations, material stress testing, and safety redundancies. I answered everything from memory, referencing my lab notebook when needed. "You clearly know this product inside and out," Carson said finally. "I appreciate the expertise." "It's my design," I said simply. "I've been working on it for 2 years." A pause. "I see." He thanked me and hung up. I sat staring at my phone, wondering what he had just figured out. The next family barbecue was at Uncle Marco's house. I almost didn't go, but Grace advised me to maintain appearances. "Don't give them ammunition to call you difficult or hostile," she said. I arrived late and stayed near the edges of the yard. Piper held court by the grill, surrounded by cousins and aunts. She clinked her beer bottle against others, laughing loudly. "Our pre-orders are insane," she announced. "We're going to sell out in the first week." Everyone congratulated her. My mother hugged her proudly. I stayed silent, eating potato salad and observing. Piper's boyfriend, Derek, put his arm around her. "You're amazing, babe. This is all you." She kissed him. I worked so hard for this. I felt eyes on me and looked up. Piper was staring directly at me, her smile frozen. I raised my beer bottle slightly in a mock toast. "Just make sure your paperwork is solid," I said loud enough for people nearby to hear. Her expression flickered confusion, then annoyance. "What's that supposed to mean?" "Just advice. Patents, trademarks, ownership documents. Important stuff." I took a sip, casual. Wouldn't want any surprises. She laughed it off, but I saw her jaw tighten. Uncle Marco changed the subject quickly. As people drifted toward dessert, I slipped away without saying goodbye. In my car, I texted Grace. "She's getting nervous. Keep the pressure steady." Grace replied, "Perfect." Let her wonder. Grace worked quietly and efficiently. She didn't contact Piper directly. Instead, she sent a formal inquiry to Carson Crane's investment firm, not as my attorney yet, just as a concerned party providing public records. The package included 3 documents: my provisional patent number, a copy of the signed napkin NDA, and a 2-page technical brief describing the invention's development history. All of it was publicly available or already shared information. Nothing aggressive, nothing threatening. Just facts. The investment firm received the package on a Tuesday morning. By Wednesday afternoon, Carson's associate called a meeting with Piper to clarify some due diligence questions. Piper texted me immediately. "Did you send something to my investor?" I replied truthfully, "No. Grace had sent it, not me." Technically honest. Someone's asking about patents and ownership. This is sabotage, Marin. I don't know what you're talking about. Maybe they're just being thorough. 3 dots appeared and disappeared repeatedly. No response came. That evening, my father called. "What did you do?" "I filed a patent for my invention. Months ago." "Piper says you're trying to ruin her deal." "I'm protecting my work." If that affects her deal, maybe she should have been honest about who invented it. He hung up on me. My mother called 10 minutes later, crying. "Why are you tearing this family apart?" I didn't answer. I just listened to her sob until she hung up too. Piper showed up at my house unannounced on Thursday evening. I watched through the window as she parked and marched up my driveway, her face set in anger. I opened the door before she could knock. "Did you contact my investor?" she demanded, pushing past me into my living room. "No. Someone sent him documents about patents and ownership. Your name is all over them." "I filed a patent months ago, Piper. It's public record. Anyone can look it up." "You're sabotaging me." Her voice rose sharply. "You can't stand that I'm succeeding." I stayed calm, watching her unravel. "I'm not sabotaging anything. I'm protecting my intellectual property." "Your property? We built this together." "Did we?" I asked quietly. Because at that presentation, you took sole credit. You called me stupid in front of everyone. You said I didn't understand business. Her face flushed. You're twisting things. I was just nervous. You stole my prototype. You excluded me from meetings. You posted about your project on social media without mentioning me once. Because you're impossible to work with. You're paranoid and controlling. I took a breath. I think you should leave. She stared at me, breathing hard. Then she grabbed her purse and slammed my door so hard a picture frame fell off the wall. I locked the deadbolt and texted Grace. She's panicking. It's working. The cease and desist letter arrived at Piper's apartment by a certified mail on Friday morning. I knew because she called me screaming before noon. You formed a company? Dalton Innovations LLC? Are you insane? I'm protecting my invention. This letter says I have to stop using your design immediately. I have investors, pre-orders, contracts. Then you should have made sure you had the rights to use it. My voice was steady, almost emotionless. She made a choking sound between a sob and a shout. I'm your sister. How can you do this to me? How could you steal from me? How could you call me stupid in front of our family? Silence stretched between us. I'll fight this, she finally said. You won't win. I already have, Piper. I filed the patent. I have documentation. I have the signed NDA you laughed about. I have everything. She hung up. Within an hour, my parents called. My father's voice was ice. You've destroyed your sister. I hope you're proud. My mother begged me to fix this and stop being vindictive. I told them both the same thing. I'm not destroying Piper. I'm protecting what's mine. If she had been honest from the beginning, none of this would be happening. They didn't want to hear it. The family group chat erupted with accusations. Cousins I barely spoke to called me jealous and cruel. Uncle Marco wrote a long message about family loyalty. I left the group chat and blocked most of them. Carson Crane's office sent formal meeting requests to both of us. The email was professional and cold, due diligence review required. Please bring all relevant ownership documentation. The meeting was scheduled for the following Tuesday at 10 in the morning. Piper tried calling me 6 times over the weekend. I didn't answer. She left voicemails that started angry and ended desperate. We can still fix this. We can split everything 50-50. Just call me back. Sunday night, she texted, I'll give you 40%. That's fair. I didn't respond. Monday morning, 30% and credit on the packaging. Please, Marin. Still nothing from me. Monday evening, she called one last time. I answered. What do you want? Her voice was small, defeated. Let's split the profits. 50-50. Like we originally planned. Whose profits? I asked. The silence stretched long and painful. You know what I mean, she finally whispered. No, Piper. I don't. Because you never planned to share anything. You planned to cut me out completely. That's not true. Then why did you call me stupid in front of everyone? Why did you take sole credit? Why did you exclude me from every meeting? She had no answer. I hung up. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. But then I remembered that presentation, the laughter, the way my parents had looked at me like I was the problem. Sympathy died quickly. I barely slept Monday night. I rehearsed what I would say, how I would present evidence, how I would stay calm under pressure. Grace called at 7 in the morning. You ready? As ready as I'll ever be. Remember, you're not the villain here. You're the inventor protecting your rights. Stay confident. I dressed carefully, professional but not flashy. I gathered my folder of evidence, organized and labeled. My hands didn't shake. At 9:30, I drove to Carson Crane's office building downtown. The lobby was marble and glass, intimidating in its sleekness. I took the elevator to the 7th floor. Piper was already in the waiting room, dressed in white with perfect makeup. She looked like she hadn't slept either. Our eyes met. She looked away first. At exactly 10 o'clock, Carson's associate, Miranda, led us into a conference room. Carson sat at the head of the table with 2 other team members. Thank you both for coming, Carson said neutrally. We need to clarify some intellectual property questions before we proceed. Piper launched into her prepared speech immediately. This has all been a misunderstanding. My sister filed a patent late in the process, but we developed the idea together. It's a family project. Carson nodded, his expression unreadable. Then he turned to me. Ms. Dalton, your response? I slid my folder across the table. Everything you need is here. Miranda opened my folder and began reading aloud. Provisional patent application filed 8 months ago. Full utility patent filed 3 months ago. Both in the name of Maren Dalton. She looked up. 8 months is before your pitch presentation, Ms. Piper Dalton. Piper's face went pale. Family ideas belong to the family. We talked about this together. Carson clicked to the next page in the folder. It was the signed napkin, photographed in high resolution. This appears to be a non-disclosure agreement signed by you, acknowledging that all designs and intellectual property belong to Maren Dalton. Is this your signature? Piper's mouth opened and closed. That was a joke. We were laughing about it. Jokes are typically not signed, Carson said dryly. He clicked to the next document. These are timestamped CD files showing design iterations over 2 years. All created by Maren Dalton. Then came my lab notebook entries, dated and detailed. Photos of early prototypes in my garage workshop. Email chains where I had sent Piper technical information. Every piece of evidence laid out chronologically, undeniably mine. Ms. Piper Dalton, Carson said finally, his voice surgical in its precision. Can you provide any documentation showing your technical contribution to this device? She stammered. I did the business development. Marketing. Investor relations. Those are services, not invention. Who owns the patent? The room tilted. I watched Piper's face crumble as reality hit her. We. She looked at me desperately. Tell them we did this together, Maren. Please. I met her eyes and said nothing. Carson closed the folder. I think we have everything we need. The investor meeting ended quickly after that. Carson thanked us both for our time, his tone making it clear that only one of us still had his interest. Piper left first, practically running from the building. I stayed to answer a few final questions. I'll be in touch, Carson said, shaking my hand. Your documentation is impressive. Outside, I sat in my car for 10 minutes before my hands stopped trembling. It was over. Actually over. The news spread through my family like wildfire. My phone exploded with notifications, all of which I ignored. Piper's social media went dark, posts deleted, accounts set to private. The family group chat that I had left apparently turned into a war zone, with relatives demanding to know my side and others doubling down on calling me vindictive. Uncle Marco called and left a voicemail. I was wrong. Your sister lied to all of us. I'm sorry. My mother called crying, not apologizing but begging me to help Piper through this. My father sent a text, "You've destroyed your sister's future. I hope it was worth it." I responded only once to all of them. I didn't destroy anything. I protected my work. If Piper's future was built on theft, it deserved to fall. Then I turned off my phone and went to my garage workshop. The space felt peaceful for the first time in months. I pulled out my sketches and started designing something new. Within 2 weeks, Piper's operation collapsed completely. The pre-orders she had promised got refunded after angry customers discovered the ownership dispute. Several people threatened chargebacks. A small tech blog picked up the story. Local entrepreneur accused of stealing sister's invention. The article was factual but damaging. Piper's website went offline. Her social media accounts stayed private. I heard through family gossip that she had moved back in with our parents, unable to afford her apartment. Meanwhile, Grace helped me finalize a licensing agreement with Carson Crane's firm. The terms were fair. They would manufacture and distribute under my company name, Dalton Innovations LLC, with me maintaining creative control and receiving royalties. I hired my first employee, a part-time assistant to help with paperwork and logistics. The device went into production under my specifications, my safety standards, my timeline. I redesigned the packaging to include my grandmother's photo and a dedication for everyone who refuses to give up. 3 months after that conference room showdown, my invention appeared in stores. Small at first, local shops, online marketplaces. But it worked. Reviews were positive. People with arthritis sent thank you emails that made me cry. I wasn't getting rich, but I was building something real. Something mine. Something honest. Piper sent one text, "Congratulations on your success." I didn't respond. There was nothing left to say. 6 months later, Piper showed up at my office unannounced. I had rented a small space downtown, nothing fancy but professional. My assistant buzzed me. "Your sister's here." I considered sending her away, but something made me curious. I told my assistant to let her in. Piper looked different, thinner, tired, wearing jeans instead of her usual polished outfits. She sat down across from my desk without being invited. "You won," she said flatly. "This isn't about winning." "Then what is it about?" I leaned back in my chair. "Honesty. Respect. Recognizing that just because you're good at talking doesn't mean you own other people's work." She flinched. "I know I messed up." "You didn't mess up, Piper. You stole. You lied. You called me stupid in front of our family." "I was scared," she whispered. "Scared you'd take all the credit. Scared I wouldn't matter. So you decided I wouldn't matter instead?" She had no answer. We sat in silence for a long moment. "I need help," she finally said. "I can't find work. No one will hire me after that article. I'm broke. I need you to, I don't know. Help me start over." I studied her face. Part of me wanted to feel vindicated. Another part just felt tired. "I can't help you, Piper. You're my sister. And you're mine. But you didn't act like it when it mattered." She stood up, tears streaming down her face. "I'm sorry. I know it doesn't fix anything, but I'm sorry." After she left, I sat alone in my office for a long time. A year after everything fell apart, I attended a family dinner at my parents' house. It was the first one I had gone to since the presentation disaster. The invitation had come from my mother, tentative and careful. "It would mean a lot if you came. We miss you." I almost said no. But Grace had told me something important. You don't owe them forgiveness, but you don't owe them perpetual anger either. Choose what serves you. So I went. The table was full, parents, uncles, cousins. Piper sat at the far end, quiet and subdued. When I entered, conversations faltered. My mother stood and hugged me stiffly. My father nodded from his seat. Uncle Marco raised his glass. To both daughters, he said awkwardly, "May they both find success." I didn't correct him. Success looked different for each of us now. Dinner was uncomfortable but not hostile. Piper and I didn't speak directly. Toward the end, my mother showed everyone photos from a recent vacation. My father talked about refinancing the house. Normal things. Safe things. As people filtered outside for coffee on the patio, Piper approached me in the kitchen. We stood facing each other across the counter where we used to make midnight snacks as kids. "Your product is doing really well," she said quietly. "I saw it in 3 different stores." "Thank you. I got a job," she continued. "Marketing coordinator at a nonprofit. It's not glamorous, but it's honest work." I nodded. "That's good. I'm in therapy. Trying to figure out why I did what I did." She looked down at her hands. "Turns out being the charming one comes with a lot of pressure to keep performing. Not that it's an excuse." "It's not," I agreed. "But I'm glad you're working on yourself." She met my eyes. "I don't expect you to forgive me. I just wanted you to know I'm trying to be better." I thought about that for a moment. Forgiveness felt too big, too generous for what had happened. But acknowledgement? That I could manage. "I hope you succeed," I said finally. "Really?" She nodded, tears pooling but not falling. Then she went back outside. My mother found me alone in the kitchen minutes later. "Thank you for coming," she said softly. "I know we didn't support you the way we should have. Your father and we enabled Piper for a long time. Made excuses." "Yes, you did." She flinched but didn't argue. "We're proud of what you built. Even if we didn't say it." I needed to hear it then, I replied. "When it mattered." "I know." She squeezed my hand. "Better late than never?" I squeezed back but didn't answer. Some wounds healed crooked. I left the dinner early, citing work in the morning. As I drove home through familiar streets, I thought about the journey from that humiliating presentation to this awkward but peaceful evening. Piper hadn't ruined me. She'd tried, but I had been prepared. The patent, the documentation, the quiet strength to stand alone when everyone told me I was wrong, those things had saved me. My phone buzzed with an email notification. Another licensing inquiry, this time from a European distributor. My little invention that solved a small, stubborn problem was reaching people across an ocean. I pulled into my driveway and sat for a moment, looking at my modest house, my garage workshop visible through the side window. This wasn't the life I had imagined when Piper and I sat at my kitchen table making promises over coffee. It was better. Because it was mine. Built on my terms, with my name, through my work. No one could take credit for it. No one could diminish it. No one could call me stupid and have the room agree. The patent hadn't just protected my idea. It had protected my dignity, my worth, my right to be recognized for what I created. I grabbed my laptop from the passenger seat and headed inside. There was work to do, new designs sketching themselves in my mind, problems waiting to be solved, a business that needed building. Piper had taught me an important lesson, though not the one she intended. She taught me that trust without verification is just naivety. That family love doesn't excuse theft. That quiet preparation beats loud confidence. And most importantly, she taught me that the person who underestimates you gives you the greatest advantage of all. I opened my laptop at the kitchen table, the same table where this had all begun, and started sketching a new invention. Something for people who struggled with arthritic hands and kitchen knives. Another small problem. Another stubborn solution. My grandmother would have been proud. The room was silent except for the scratch of my pencil on paper, and for the first time in over a year, that silence felt like peace instead of loneliness. I didn't ruin my sister. I just stopped letting her spend my genius like it was hers. And that made all the difference. I'd love to hear your thoughts. What does family mean to you? Please share below and subscribe to this channel for more stories like mine.